Have you ever wondered why some people work hard their entire lives, but never become rich, while others seem to let money work for them? Most people are taught study hard, work hard, and earn a paycheck. They spend their lives trading time for money, then use that money to buy things that make them feel better but not freer. I used to be in that position. Every time I got paid, I felt like I was winning. But then I realized money is temporary, freedom is forever. And you can't buy freedom with a salary, you can only build it through assets. The rich understand this income keeps you alive, but assets set you free. They don't just work for money, they work to plant seeds. Every dollar they earn, they let a part of it grow into a money tree, something that keeps working even while they sleep. They know that if you don't teach your money to work for you, you'll always have to work for money. And today, I'm going to share with you 12 golden principles the rich live by. These principles don't come from luck, but from mindset, discipline, and the right financial philosophy. They can completely change the way you see money, work, and freedom. And you should stay until the end of this video. Because principle number 9, the law of keeping money, might forever change how you build wealth. Principle number 1, don't just make money, invest it. When I was young, I thought the purpose of work was to make as much money as possible. I worked day and night harder than anyone around me. But even as my income increased, I always felt like I was running on a hamster wheel that never stopped. I earned more, but I also spent more. And then I realized I was working to survive, not to be free. One day a mentor told me, Jim, income will feed you, but assets will free you. That sentence completely changed how I viewed money. I realized the problem wasn't how much I made, but what I did with the money I made. Most people spend their lives working for money. The rich spend their lives making money work for them. That's the only difference. But it's the line between living to survive and living to be free. Imagine you are a farmer. Each month, you receive a bag of seeds. That's your paycheck. You have 2 choices. Eat them all because they're enough to live today, or save some to plant so you'll have more seeds next season. The rich think like farmers. They eat enough to live, but always plant the rest. They understand that if you eat all your seeds this season, you'll have nothing to harvest next season. I once met a man who made a lot of money. He drove luxury cars, wore designer clothes, and lived in an expensive apartment. But when I asked if you stopped working for a year, could you live? He went silent, because the answer was no. He was rich in income, but poor in assets. The rich don't count how much they make, they count what they build. Someone earning $1,000 a month, but investing $200 into assets can become free sooner than someone earning $10,000 and spending it all. Because discipline, not numbers, creates freedom. Don't wait until you make more to start investing. If you can't save 10% when you earn $1,000, you won't when you earn $10,000 either. Investing isn't something rich. People do, it's how people become rich. And investing isn't limited to stocks or real estate. It could be a book you buy to grow your mindset, a course to improve your skills, or an idea you dare to start. Anything that helps you create and multiply value is a worthy investment. Ask yourself, am I working for money or am I teaching money to work for me? If your answer is, I'm still working for money, then it's time to change your philosophy. Because if you don't make money your servant, it will make you its worker for life. And here's the truth, money never sleeps. It can work 24 hours a day all around the world, but only if you invest it wisely. Let every dollar you earn carry a mission to grow, to serve, to free you from the limits of time. Remember this, income feeds you, but assets free you. Don't just work for money, learn how to make money work for you. And to do that, you must build one habit, a habit the rich never skip, no matter what stage of life they're in. It's the habit of planting seeds every day. Principle number 2, build the habit of planting seeds daily. I used to tell my students, it's not how much money you have that determines your wealth, but the habits you repeat every day. Because wealth is not an event, it's a process. And that process starts with a small action, a seemingly insignificant decision, a seed you plant today. You see, both the poor and the rich have seeds. The difference is what they do with them. The poor eat their seeds to survive today. The rich plant their seeds to live free tomorrow. I remember when I was young and first started making money, I couldn't wait to spend it all. Partly to reward myself, partly because I thought, when I make more, I'll start saving. But that day never came, because the problem isn't how much you have, it's the habit you keep. You can't say, I'll wait until I have discipline to start exercising. You get discipline because you start exercising. Money works the same way. You don't wait until you have more to learn investing. You start first, even with a small amount. I once advised a student start with $5 a week. It doesn't matter how small, what matters is you're training yourself. He laughed and said, $5 wouldn't change anything. 3 years later, I met him again. He still hadn't started, and he said the same thing, I'm not ready yet. I just smiled. It's not that you're not ready, it's that you haven't built the habit. Understand this. Wealth is a skill, and skills come from repetition. The rich don't invest big. At first, they invest consistently. They know every small action, every seed planted is a brick in the foundation of freedom. Like a farmer, he doesn't focus only on this year's harvest. He plants, he waters, he waits, not because he loves the work, but because he knows rewards come to the patient. And here's a hard truth. No one becomes wealthy from one big decision, but from hundreds of small ones they repeat relentlessly. Successful people aren't better than you. They're just more consistent, one day, then 1 week, then 1 year longer. Start building your habit of planting seeds today. Every time you get paid, automatically set aside 10% before spending. If you can't do 10%, start with 5%, even 2%. Don't see it as money lost. See it as seeds sent to your future, because you can't expect to harvest if you never plant. And you can't become free if every dollar you earn has no purpose. One thing I've learned from my own experience is discipline is not restriction. It's the bridge between dreams and success. The habit of planting seeds is the highest form of discipline. You plant today to harvest tomorrow, and every time you stay consistent, you're proving to yourself that you deserve freedom. So I want you to ask yourself, what kind of seeds am I planting each day for my future or for my procrastination? If you plant the seeds of discipline, you'll harvest freedom. If you plant the seeds of spending, you'll harvest worry. Life doesn't favor anyone. It simply gives back the kind of seeds you've planted. But planting seeds alone isn't enough. The rich don't just plant, they also know how to protect their fields. They don't put all their seeds in one place. They know how to allocate them wisely. And that's the secret of the next principle. Principle number 3, diversify with discipline. I once heard a very popular saying in the world of investing, never put all your eggs in one basket. That sounds wise, but after years of observation, I discovered something interesting. Those who fail often misunderstand what it really means. They think diversification means investing in everything. They scatter their money everywhere. A little in stocks, a little in crypto, a little in a friend's startup, and in the end, they don't truly understand any of it. And none of it brings returns. In contrast, the rich don't just diversify, they diversify with discipline. They don't scatter seeds carelessly. They carefully choose each plot of land, and they stay long enough to nurture water and harvest it. I remember when I first started investing, a friend told me, Jim, put your money in as many places as you can. The more, the safer. I followed that advice. The result, I didn't just lose money, I lost focus. I was busy chasing after every basket of eggs and had no time to protect any of them. Then another mentor told me, Jim, diversification isn't about dividing your wisdom. It's about protecting your wisdom with discipline. That's when I understood. It's not about spreading thin, it's about balancing. The rich divide their money into 3 parts. One group, the safe portion. The stable foundation long-term assets such as index funds, real estate, or bonds, where money grows slowly but steadily like roots anchoring deep into the ground. 2-1, the growth portion. Profit opportunities fields with higher risk but greater potential startups, new technologies emerging market. These are the branches that reach upward. Not every branch bears fruit, but when a few do, you'll have a plentiful harvest. 3 self, investment portion. Intangible assets, learning skills, mindset, health. This is the investment with infinite returns because no one can steal or tax your knowledge. You see, diversification isn't just a financial strategy. It's a philosophy of life. You can't place all your hopes on one thing. Plant different kinds of trees, some for shade, some for fruit, some for long-lasting wood. Because when the storm comes, not every tree will stand, but the forest will. I've seen many people go bankrupt not because they invested wrong, but because they placed all their hope in a single source of income. Job lost, income lost, life collapsed. The rich are different. If one door closes, they still have 5 more open. But be careful. Without discipline, diversification turns into distraction. If you invest in 10 places but can't monitor even one, you're not investing, you're gambling. The rich don't just divide money, they divide attention. They know exactly what each dollar is doing, where it is, and why. Diversification is the art of balance, not so focused that risk can destroy you, but not so scattered that your power is diluted. Invest wide enough to be safe and deep enough to be effective. I want you to pause and ask yourself, if one of my income sources disappeared tomorrow, would I still have something generating money? If the answer is no, you're living in sweet danger. the kind that feels safe today but breeds insecurity forever. And once you know how to balance and protect the seeds you've planted, the next step is to make your field work for you. Because the rich don't just know how to invest, they know how to make money work tirelessly even while they sleep. Principle number 4, make money work for you. Most people work incredibly hard. They wake up early, stay up late, sacrifice time, and give effort hour by hour. But there's a harsh truth few dare to face. No matter how many hours you work, you still only have 24 hours in a day. You can't work forever. Your body will tire, time will limit you, and youth won't last. If you rely solely on labor, your life will always be chained to the clock. When you stop working, your money stops flowing. The rich understand that. They know when I'm asleep, my assets are still working. That's not magic, it's philosophy. The rich don't just work for money. They create systems so that money works for them. I once met a man who worked incredibly hard. He had 2 jobs and almost no days off. He told me, Jim, I work 16 hours a day. I'm sure I'll be rich soon. I looked at him and said, no, you're just getting better at being tired. The more you work without a system, the more exhausted you become. The rich still work hard, but they work with leverage. They make money their most loyal employee. Money doesn't need sleep, rest, or motivation. It can work 24/7 anywhere in the world. Imagine this. Every dollar you invest wisely is like an invisible employee, an employee working day and night to bring back profit. And when you have hundreds or thousands of these invisible employees, you no longer have to work just to survive. You start working to create value, not out of financial pressure. When I was younger, I thought financial freedom was a distant dream. But when I understood passive income, everything changed. I started putting part of my income into assets that generated cash flow, dividend-paying stocks, rental real estate, small businesses that could operate without me daily. At first, those streams of cash were tiny, but they kept flowing even while I was with my family reading or sleeping. And then, bit by bit, I discovered the magic of compound interest. Every dollar earned created more dollars. Every new income stream nurtured another, like seeds sprouting endlessly into a vast field. That's when you move from working for money to managing cash flow. If you want that, start by building your first stream of passive income. Don't wait until you have a lot, because the rich don't start big. They start consistent. Begin by opening an automatic investment account, an index fund, or buying a small income producing asset. It could be a $50 dividend or a room for rent. The amount doesn't matter, the principle does. My money must work for me, not sit idle. And once that first stream starts flowing, multiply it. Turn 1 into 2, 2 into 5, 5 into 10. Because the more employees named money you have, the closer you get to freedom. Ask yourself, if I couldn't work tomorrow, how many income streams would still be feeding me? If the answer is none, then it's time to start building your financial workforce. Let your money become your silent army working day and night, because you can rest, but freedom must never sleep. But there's another secret. The rich understand better than anyone. They don't just make money earn profits. They make value earn money. They know that wealth flows to those who serve more people and serve them better. And that's the next principle. Principle number 5. Serve value, not hours. I used to think the only way to make more money was to work more. I worked overtime, took on extra tasks, stayed up later than everyone else. But no matter how hard I tried, I still hit a ceiling because my time is limited. Then a mentor told me something that changed me forever. Jim, money doesn't follow the hardest worker. Money follows the one who creates the most value. That's when I understood society doesn't pay you for your time. It pays you for the value you create within that time. If you're paid $10 an hour, it's not because your hour is worth $10, but because the value you deliver to others in that hour is only $10. And if you want to increase your income, you don't need to work. 20 hours a day, you need to increase your value. I used to be an average salesperson. I thought my job was to sell to earn commission. But one day I changed my thinking. My job isn't to sell. It's to help people buy what they truly need. And you know what? My income doubled, then tripled. Not because I worked more, but because I served better. That's the philosophy of the rich. Money doesn't follow hard work. It follows usefulness. The more people you help and the better you help them, the more valuable you become, and money will find its way to you. Look at the most successful people in the world. They aren't paid because they work more, but because they solve bigger problems. Elon Musk isn't paid because he works 18 hours a day. He's paid because he creates solutions for millions. Jeff Bezos doesn't sell time. He builds systems so value can scale infinitely. And in today's world, the world of technology, AI, the creator economy, the winners aren't those who work more, but those who leverage intellect and systems so their value reaches more people. You can start small. If you're an employee, ask, how can I help the company save, improve efficiency, or serve customers better? If you're an entrepreneur, ask, how can I help more people with less cost? If you're a creator, ask, what pain am I solving for my audience? With my content. Because every dollar you receive comes from someone who believes the value you created is greater than the price they pay. I once met a wealthy man. I asked him, what's your secret to success? He smiled and said, I stopped asking, how can I make more money, and started asking, how can I help more people? That answer is the key. When you shift your focus from making money to serving money, it starts finding you. It's no longer a chase, but an attraction. No longer pressure, but the natural result of value. This world doesn't lack money. It lacks people who create real value. And when you become one of them, money will find you faster than you think. Ask yourself, what value am I creating today? Who am I enriching, others or myself? If you stop thinking in hours and start thinking in value, you will no longer be limited by the clock. You'll step into a new world where income is measured not by hours, but by impact. And when you've learned how to create value, the next step is to protect that value. Because many people make money, but soon after they lose it all. Not because they invested wrong, but because they didn't control what they had. That's the next principle. Principle number 6, control cash flow. Know where your money goes. I once told a student, if you don't tell your money where to go, it will disappear on its own. And that's one of the most expensive lessons I ever learned. It's not that people fail because they earn too little. Most fail because they don't know how much they're spending. You see, most people don't go broke because of one big decision. They drown in thousands of small ones. A coffee every morning, a few meals out each week, those just a few dollars a month, subscriptions they never use. All those little things, bit by bit, quietly drain their cash flow without warning. I once sat down with a young man who earned quite well. He said, teacher, I don't understand why I run out of money every month. I smiled. All right, let's take a look. We opened his expense sheet, and for an hour he sat in silence. Not because he didn't understand, but because he was shocked. He realized he wasn't poor from lack of income, but from lack of awareness. Many people's problem isn't that they don't make enough, it's that they can't keep what they make. Because increasing income without increasing discipline only makes you spend more faster. The rich have a simple habit most others ignore. They track every dollar, not because they're stingy, but because they respect money. They understand what isn't measured won't be controlled. Each quarter, they sit down, review the expense sheet, and evaluate every line. What is profitable, what is wasteful, what should be cut. And every time they do that, their cash flow becomes stronger, clearer, and freer. I did this exercise for the first time when I was young. When I totaled things up, I discovered I'd spent hundreds of dollars on things that brought no value. I called them financial leaks. I started plugging each hole one by one. Every bit saved, no matter how small, I redirected into investments. And after just 1 year, my cash flow changed direction from flowing out to flowing toward me. Remember, you cannot build wealth with money you don't control. Before you think about investing for growth, make sure you're controlling your current flow. One exercise I often assign my students is the 30-day spending audit. Write down everything you spend, everything, no matter how small. At the end of the month, you'll see the real picture. And it might surprise you. Someone once told me, Jim, I feel uncomfortable writing down every expense. I replied, if you feel uncomfortable looking at how you spend, that's the sign you're spending wrong. Financial freedom doesn't start with the number in your account. It starts with the awareness of control. When you know exactly where every dollar is, you have the power to decide what it does next, serve you or abandon you. Imagine if each month you cut 10% of wasteful spending and invested that into income-producing assets. In a year, that becomes a foundation. In 10 years, it could become freedom. Because today's control is the base of tomorrow's wealth. I want you to ask yourself, am I controlling money, or is money controlling me? If you don't have an answer yet, start tonight, sit down, record review, and adjust. You don't need a perfect plan, just a clear decision from today on. I will tell my money where to go. And when you've learned to control every dollar you earn, it's time to level up your thinking. The rich don't think only about today. They think about generations to come. They don't just make money, they build a legacy. And that's the next principle. Principle number 7, think legacy, build lasting wealth. I once said, the smart make money to live. The wise make money to be free. But the great make money to leave something behind. Most people think about wealth within the span of a single lifetime, but the truly wealthy think across generations. They don't just ask, how well will I live? They ask, how will my children, grandchildren, and generations after me live because of what I build today? I remember when I was young, I met an elderly man named William. He was retired, yet seemed completely unbothered by money. When I asked for his secret, he smiled and said, I didn't work just for myself, Jim. I worked so that the people I love would never have to start from zero. Those words stopped me in my tracks. I realized that true wealth isn't about how much you spend in your lifetime, but about the values and opportunities you leave behind. The rich understand that everything they build is a seed for the next generation. A home today can become a shelter for their descendants tomorrow. A business today can become the foundation of an entire family line. A small charity fund today can transform the lives of people you'll never meet. And more importantly, the greatest legacy isn't money, it's philosophy. Because money can be lost, but the right mindset can rebuild it all. I've met fathers who left their children great wealth, but because they never taught them the philosophy behind it, the next generation lost it all within a few years. Conversely, I've seen parents who left nothing but lessons, and those very lessons turned their children into millionaires. I call that a spiritual legacy fund, a reservoir of principles, values, and beliefs worth more than gold. That's what you should pass down alongside your financial assets. When you start thinking beyond your own lifetime, you begin to invest with greater purpose. You'll choose sustainability over short-term profit. You'll prioritize long-term impact over temporary pleasure. I once asked a wealthy friend, what do you plan to do with your wealth when you're gone? He smiled and said, I'm not just leaving money. I'm leaving opportunity, schools, scholarships, and a company my descendants can continue to grow. That's the difference between spending money and building a legacy. Imagine if every generation started from a higher level than the last. After just a few generations, an entire family line could change its destiny. But that only happens when someone in the family decides to think beyond themselves. That someone could be you. Don't just leave your children what you've earned. Leave them why you earned it. Rewrite your family story by planting long-lasting seeds, an investment fund, a sustainable business, a community foundation, because in the end, everything you buy will fade, but what you build will endure. Ask yourself, if I were to leave today, what part of me would still remain tomorrow? That question isn't just for the elderly, it's for all of us. Because legacy isn't something you create at the end of your life, it's something you plant every day. And once you understand the power of building a legacy, you'll realize something else. The rich don't only think long-term. They know that short-term cash flow is the breath of freedom. Because if your assets don't generate steady income, you're not truly free. And that's the next principle. Principle number 8, prioritize cash flow. Freedom begins with flow. One of the most common mistakes I see among people who look rich is that they focus on assets on paper and forget about real-life cash flow. They own houses, cars, investments, yet still work tirelessly every month just to pay bills. They look rich, but they don't live rich. The truly wealthy understand this: assets can make you look rich, but only cash flow makes you free. I once met a man with millions of dollars in assets on paper. He owned multiple properties, company shares, even luxury cars. But every month, he struggled to pay his utility bills and employee salaries. I asked him, why do you still feel financial pressure with so many assets? He gave a wry smile. Jim, I own a lot of things, but none of them pay me back. In contrast, I knew another man with far less wealth on paper, but he owned 3 rental apartments, a dividend-paying stock portfolio, and a small, steadily operating business. Each month, he received consistent cash flow without having to show up for work. He told me, I'm not a millionaire, Jim, but I'm free. And I realized freedom isn't about the number. It's about the flow. Cash flow is the lifeblood of financial freedom. When it stops, you have to go back to work. When it flows steadily, you can focus on what truly matters: family health growth, or simply living on your own terms. Remember, the goal isn't to own more assets, but to own assets that pay you. Don't invest in something that only looks good on paper but produces no real return. A house is only a true asset if it generates positive cash flow. A business only has real value if it can profit without you being there daily. A stock is only worth holding if it pays dividends or shows genuine growth. Ask yourself, how many things do I own that actually bring me money every month? If the answer is none, then you haven't built freedom yet. You've only bought the appearance of it. The rich begin with a different question, not what can I buy, but will this pay me back? I call that the principle of cash flow, first image later. Don't chase luxury, build the foundation first, then build the castle. When I bought my first property, it wasn't glamorous. An old apartment far from the city center, ignored by everyone. But each month it paid me rent. That feeling was completely different from spending money. It was the first time I felt my money working for me. From that small flow, I reinvested, bought more income-generating assets, and with each one, my level of freedom rose a little higher. Not because I earned more, but because I controlled the flow. If you want freedom, start by building at least one stream of passive income this year. It could be a rental room, a dividend portfolio, a digital product sold online, or a YouTube channel that creates lasting value for others. Never underestimate small cash flow, because every great river begins with a single drop. And when you have your first stream, protect it, expand it, multiply it into a system. One day you'll wake up and realize money is still flowing even when you're not working. That's when you're truly free. But there's one more secret few people realize. You can create countless streams of income, but if you don't know how to keep what you earn, you'll lose it all. And that's what the rich understand better than anyone. The key isn't just in making money, but in keeping it. Let's move on to the next principle. Principle number 9, keep what you earn, the art of tax optimization. I once asked a wealthy friend, what's the biggest secret to becoming rich? He smiled and said, Jim, it's not how much you make, it's how much you keep after you make it. At that moment, I didn't fully grasp what he meant, until I saw two men with the same income. One grew wealthier year after year, the other still struggled, and the only difference between them was how they managed taxes. The first saw taxes as a burden, the second saw taxes as a game with rules, and whoever understands the rules wins. You see, most people work hard their entire lives, but never learn how to keep what they earn. They let the government, inflation, and ignorance erode their money bit by bit. Meanwhile, the rich learn the rules, so the rules serve them. I'm not talking about evading taxes, never. I'm talking about understanding tax law to use what's legal. Because tax laws are written to encourage value-creating behavior. If you know how to play correctly, you won't just keep more, you'll build wealth faster. When I started in business, I made mistakes too. Every time I made a profit, I paid taxes like a regular employee. I thought that was obvious. Until I met a financial advisor who asked me, Jim, do you want to be the biggest taxpayer or the wisest at keeping what you earn? That question stayed with me for days. Then he taught me how to set up a financial structure. Use your own company to legitimize necessary expenses. Invest in real estate with tax deductions. Contribute to retirement funds or tax-advantaged accounts. I realize the rich don't complain about taxes, they manage them. They understand that every dollar saved on taxes is another dollar invested into freedom. And that's what most people overlook. They treat taxes as something out of their control, so they never learn, never optimize, and as a result, they always work harder to make up for what they've lost. The rich do the opposite. They make their money work smarter, so the rules become an ally instead of an enemy. An entrepreneur friend once told me I never spend money before thinking about which part of it could reduce my taxes. That's the difference in mindset. Average people think, what can I buy? The rich think, how can I structure this? So the money keeps compounding. Start with simple steps. If you're an employee, open a retirement or investment account with tax advantages. If you own a business, work with a financial professional to legitimize investment-related expenses. If you plan to invest in real estate, learn how to use asset depreciation to reduce your tax liability. Each small step can help you keep an extra 5%, 10%, even 20% of your income. And you know what? When you keep more, you can reinvest more. That's how the rich accelerate their path to freedom. Ask yourself, am I working for money, or am I letting the rules work for me? If you don't understand the rules, you'll always play from behind. But if you learn to play correctly, you won't just earn more, you'll keep more. And remember, wealth doesn't come from working harder, but from managing smarter. Let knowledge be your wealth-building tool, because ignorance is the most expensive tax of all. And when you've learned to keep what you earn, it's time to understand a deeper principle. The rich don't live by debt, they live by ownership. They understand that every dollar of debt is a tether, while every asset is a step toward freedom. Let's keep going to principle number 10. Principle number 10, choose ownership over debt. I once told a group of young students, if you don't own anything, you'll always work for someone else. Today's world is full of opportunity, but also full of traps. And one of the sweetest traps is debt. It gives you the feeling of having everything today only to take it all back with interest tomorrow. I used to be in debt, not because I was poor, but because I didn't understand the laws of money. I thought I was moving up, but in reality, I was paying for my impatience. A mentor once told me, Jim, if you buy what you don't need with money you don't have just to impress people you don't know, you're selling your future. Those words woke me up. I realized many people work their entire lives to pay for things they enjoyed for only a few days. A new car, a new phone, a luxury apartment, they bring a brief feeling of being rich, but leave a long-lasting burden. The rich understand this boundary well. They distinguish between good debt and bad debt. Bad debt, what takes money out of your pocket every month, consumption, credit, emotional spending. Good debt, what puts money into your pocket, investments, income-producing assets, cash-flowing businesses. They aren't afraid to borrow, but they only borrow to buy assets, not liabilities. If a debt doesn't help them create value, they avoid it, like a burning fire. I once met a man proud of his perfect credit. He said, Jim, the bank is willing to lend to me anytime. I smiled and said, that means the bank trusts you. But the real question is, are you using that trust to buy freedom or to buy chains? Debt isn't evil, but using it without understanding is the most dangerous thing. Because debt makes you feel fine while you're actually losing options. When you're in debt, you can't rest. You can't say no. And sometimes you can't live according to what you believe. You become an employee of your own obligations. The rich are different. They don't borrow to consume. They borrow to increase ownership. They understand that ownership creates freedom while debt creates dependency. Every investment they make aims at one goal, to increase what they own. I remember the first time I bought a small piece of real estate. It wasn't a luxury home, just a modest plot in the suburbs. But when I held the deed in my hand, I felt something no loan could ever give me peace of mind. Because I owned a piece of this world and no one could take it from me unless I allowed it. Ownership isn't just a property, right? It's a declaration of freedom. When you own a business skills, intellect, or income-producing assets, you can live proactively, not dictated by financial pressure. Ask yourself, am I working to own or just working to pay debt? If most of the money you make goes to bills, you're not truly moving forward. You're running on the debt treadmill. But if you start using money to buy back your freedom, you're on the right path. Start small, pay off credit card debt, reduce borrowed spending, save to buy real assets, things that produce income, not lose value. And each time you own a little more, you reclaim a little more control over your life. Because freedom doesn't begin when you have a lot of money. It begins when you owe no one anything. But even when you're out of debt, that still isn't enough to become truly wealthy. The rich don't just own, they know how to double what they own. They know how to make value, create new value. And that's the next principle. Principle number 11, double your assets, the power of compound interest. Albert Einstein once said, compound interest is the eighth wonder of the double world. Those who understand it, earn it. Those who don't, pay it. And he was right. If you want to know why the rich get richer, look at how they let money multiply without doing anything extra. I once had a young, very enthusiastic student. He said, teacher, I want to get rich fast. I'm willing to work 16 hours a day. I smiled. Working hard is good, but if you rely only on your own effort, you can only move step by step. If you understand compound interest, your money will run the marathon for you. Compound interest isn't magic. It's the reward for patience. Because compound interest only reveals its power when you stay long enough. Imagine you plant a tree. In the first year, it's just a small sprout, seemingly unchanged. But each year it grows a little more. And by the 10th year, it begins to bear fruit. And those very fruits contain more seeds to plant. That's compound interest in nature. It's not loud, but it's unstoppable. The rich don't try to win fast. They build systems that multiply value over time. Every income stream they create gets reinvested. Every profit they earn gets replanted. And then over the years, those seeds become a financial forest. I once met an ordinary woman with an average income, but she started investing $200 a month at age 25 into a simple index fund, earning 10% per year. By the time she was 55, her assets exceeded $400,000. Not because she earned a lot, but because she stayed consistent longer than most people. Conversely, I know many people who make hundreds of thousands a year, but spend it all or invest emotionally and end up with nothing saved. Because compound interest helps those who plant, not those who only dream. Compound interest isn't just about money. It's the principle behind all success. Knowledge, skills, relationships, health, they all follow the same rule. A little progress each day multiplies 100-fold over the years. You read a book today, it may not change your life. But if you read every day for 10 years, your thinking will be completely different. That's the compound interest of wisdom. So the secret isn't to speed up, but to start early and never stop. The rich don't try to get rich fast. They try to get rich sustainably. I want you to ask yourself, what am I investing in everyday money knowledge or discipline? Am I planting seeds so compound interest can start working? If your answer is not yet, start today, even with a small amount, because compound interest doesn't care how much you start with, it only cares when you start. Don't judge results by tomorrow, judge them by the next 10 years. Because freedom doesn't arrive in one night. It comes from 1,000 nights of persistence. And when you've learned how to double your assets, you'll realize an even deeper principle. The rich don't just invest with money, they invest with relationships. Because in the world of finance, you can't go far alone. Let's move to principle number 12. Principle number 12. Invest in relationships, the intangible asset of the rich. I once said in a speech, if you have a great idea but no one trusts you, you'll lose the idea. But if you have strong relationships, you can turn a mediocre idea into a big success. And that's what the rich understand. Better than anyone, money can buy many things, but only relationships open doors. I once met a young entrepreneur named Alan. He was talented, hardworking, and smart, but after years, his work was still stuck. He said to me, teacher, I've learned every skill, investing, management, finance, but why can't I break through? I asked back, Alan, how many people are willing to speak well of you when you're not in the room? He fell silent. Because that's the question no one teaches in school, but it determines wealth in the real world. The rich know success doesn't come from standing alone, but from the network they build. Each person they meet can be a bridge, an opportunity, a piece of advice, or a door to the next level. They don't hunt for benefits, they plant value. They help share and give before receiving. Because they understand the unchanging rule. The most valuable person in the room is the one who helps the most others succeed. I once saw a man fail at startups 3 times in a row. But the 4th time he came back strong, not because he had a better idea, but because he had a better team. He said, Jim, I realized that the idea is only 20% and 80% is the people. That's why the rich invest heavily in the people around them. They choose friends carefully. They seek mentors to learn from, and they always know how to create value for their network. If you want to become wealthy, don't just ask, what do I know? Ask, whom do I know? And what value am I known for? Because relationships aren't for leaning on, they're for growing together. In today's era, your value isn't just in your skills, but in your reputation. Something money can't buy, only time, actions, and sincerity can build. The rich don't hunt for opportunities, they attract them. And they do it by becoming the kind of person others want to partner with. They don't just talk about money, they talk about vision. They don't just demand, they contribute. They don't just shake hands, they keep their word. I want you to consider this. Every relationship is an intangible asset that can yield infinite returns if you know how to nurture it. A friend can open a new opportunity. A mentor can help you avoid a major mistake. A well-timed introduction can change your entire career. The rich know that network is true net worth. Money can be lost. Assets can collapse. But if you have strong relationships, you can rebuild faster than ever. Ask yourself, who are the 5 people I spend the most time with? Are they helping me grow or holding me back? Because you will become the average of the 5 closest people to you. If you want to elevate your life, start by elevating the people around you. Don't just build assets. Build credibility, trust, and friendship. Because in the end, money is just a vehicle, and people are the true assets. My friend, we've gone through 12 financial principles of the rich. And if you notice, you'll see none of these principles talk only about money. They all talk about mindset. The rich don't work just to make a living. They work to build freedom. They don't spend to impress, they invest to create value. They don't chase numbers, they follow principles. And, true wealth doesn't start with a number in your account. It starts with a decision in your mind. The decision that from today on, you will control money, not let money control you. Every principle you learn today from invest, instead of just earning to build a legacy, prioritize cash flow, or invest in people is a brick in the foundation of your financial freedom. And every time you take action, no matter how small, you're laying another solid brick in your future. I once said discipline is the bridge between dreams and success. Now you have the map, but that bridge is one you must cross yourself. No one can invest for you. No one can save for you, and no one can build a legacy for you. Start today. One small step, one habit, one right decision. Because wealth doesn't come from luck, it comes from consistent daily action. And if you want to continue your personal growth journey with Jim Rohn, please subscribe to the Jim Rohn Treasures channel. because the next video will expand not only your finances, but also your mindset and spirit. Leave a comment. Which of the 12 principles woke you up the most? Today, I want to hear your story. And finally, let me close with a message I always carry. You and I both have a gift. It's today. Use it wisely. I'll see you in the next video.